Now we welcome Alex Bell from our sister station in Sacramento, California, the host of To The Point by Alex Bell. And she's going to join us today to talk about a situation that is playing out in California kind of as we speak. Eric Swalwell, a California congressman and a gubernatorial candidate, over the course of the last few days accused of sexual misconduct, including allegations of rape by a former staffer, since he has suspended his campaign for governor of California, and he has said that he is going to relieve himself of his duties as a congressman. Now, that has not officially happened yet, but he noted that he did want to be a distraction to leading his constituents, and so he is going to drop out. It's also worth noting that he has denied all allegations against him. And so now we welcome Alex Bell to give us some more insight into this. You know, Alex, I just want to start more broadly here. We've certainly been a part of these situations in Hampton Roads where news develops so rapidly you almost can't put your phone down. What has it been like just for you guys reporting on this story so far?
Yeah, well, we've been following this really, really closely because when you take a look at our polls, we have so many Democratic candidates. There were 9 at one time, and Swalwell has really been the front runner, at least for the Democrats, leading in the polls. And he had so many, endorsements behind him, from the Teachers Association to like the largest labor union. Like, there were so many people that came out and endorsed him and supported him. So it's been just a crazy turn of events. But to kind of start from the beginning, we heard, things kind of circulating online late last week, about a week or so ago. And then at the end of last week, the San Francisco Chronicle, they published a report where a former staffer accused Swalwell of sexual assault, not once, but twice. Once in 2019, again in 2024. And she claims that in both of those cases, she was too intoxicated to consent, and says that she decided not to go to police at the time because she feared that she wouldn't be believed. And on top of that, CNN came out with their own reports as well. Other women came forward to them accusing Swalwell of sending unsolicited explicit messages as well as photos. And as you mentioned, Swalwell has denied all of the allegations, calling them completely false. He even had a town hall just last week in Sacramento where, one of our reporters was there, and he was asked, what do you say to all of these allegations? And he said, they're completely false. I will fight them with everything that I have. And he was definitely very stern in what he said. But since then, we have seen all of those major endorsements get pulled, essentially. Everything from Senator Adam Schiff to the SEIU, California Teachers Union. I mean, all the major endorsements that he had got pulled with almost a day of this coming out.
And Alex, you mentioned how he was a leading candidate in a very crowded field of Democratic options for governor. I'm wondering, before these accusations came out, can you give us a sense of how important he was in California politics and what role he played in the state before these accusations started to come out?
Yeah, so he was a really well-known congressman. People were definitely anticipating him to jump in the governor's race. And when he did, there was just a lot of excitement around him because he had the name recognition. He had already done so much in the state. And so I would say that a lot of Democrats, definitely within the state, I mean, you saw Nancy Pelosi come out and support him, the Speaker Emeritus, and then you saw Adam Schiff come out and back him and endorse him as well. And so there was a lot of excitement that he would be the leading candidate. And why this was so important is because, as I mentioned, at that time, there were 9 Democratic candidates. So what ended up happening is every time polling would come out, you would have 2 Republicans at the top because there were only 2 Republican options. And then you would have 9 Democrats fighting just to get some of the polling numbers. And so when he jumped into the race, he really started taking over as the lead Democrat. I would say on the higher end, one of the Republican candidates was polling at, 14%. You have Swalwell, who comes in and is able to get, 13%, while every other candidate was fighting anywhere from 1 to 5%. And so he really came in and just reinvigorated the race, and people saw him as a real option to move the race forward for Democrats in the state. So there wouldn't be 2 Republicans potentially on the ticket in November.
And I want to ask, what's next, both for the gubernatorial race and for what is expected to be a vacant seat in Congress that he will resign from based on what he has said in his statement. So I guess we'll start with the gubernatorial race. What's next? How does this change? Could a scandal like this have negative impacts all the way down the ticket? And then what is expected for his seat? We know that his seat, that district, carried a very heavy advantage for Kamala Harris in the presidential election. It's historically been very blue. So what's next for those two positions?
Well, the short answer for his congressional seat is, just to keep it very high level, is that it's really up to the governor to decide if and when to call a special election. So we've reached out to the governor's office and we are waiting to hear back on it. But obviously someone for his seat will need to be, replaced, and there will need to be an election of some type. But nothing yet. I think everything is still too early. When we did reach out to the governor's office, they also said, they're still trying to figure some things out. In terms of his campaign, that is a wonderful question. We know that he has suspended his campaign. Last weekend, I had a senior staffer actually reach out to me, and not only senior staffers from his congressional office, but also from his campaign office. They reached out and shared a joint statement with me saying that they are horrified by these allegations. A lot of them, were either trying to quit or in the process of trying to quit, but just couldn't yet because they still needed benefits and paychecks. So they released a statement saying that they stand with the colleague that came forward. They stand with the women, and, they believed everyone else should too. But a lot of those staffers, now that he has suspended his campaign, have, stepped down and are looking for their next move. And so what I think this is going to do for the governor's race, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's still so early to tell. But I think now that we're starting to get fewer and fewer candidates in the race on the Democratic side, I do think there's going to start to at least show a clearer front runner. But what I can tell you is the reason why I say I'm unsure is because the California Democratic Party has not come out and endorsed or backed a single candidate. So we still have 7 Democratic candidates that are fighting for this. And now a lot of money is being shifted to other campaigns. So I think we'll have to see what's going to happen in the next few weeks.
I have one question, Alex, because, we're going through redistricting here, and I know California is also where voters are about to vote on redistricting, and we already have one open congressional seat in California. So I guess talk about, why this matters for everyone across the nation, because California is such a pivotal state for trickle-down effects.
Yeah, I think the redistricting was definitely a hot button issue for a lot of people, because essentially, people that are for it say, yes, obviously, draw different lines so we can have control in the House. But then there are other people who feel like they're being marginalized and their districts are changing, and they don't want their representation to change. And I think why this is such a major story, if you will, is that it truly will change major areas in California. I'll give you, one example. There's one congressional district that now has been split up into 3 different areas. So literally the difference of living on one other block could change you to a whole other district. And I know people may not consider California to be so red, but there are a lot of red districts. And so what ended up happening essentially is a lot of those more Republican leaning districts got completely split up. And there are people, especially in Northern California, who are not happy about this because that's very rural, definitely conservative leaning. But I think their biggest issue when we went up there to talk to them was that they might get somebody who doesn't understand farming and ag, or in the Central Valley, oil, and they want somebody who understands and advocates for their rights and what they believe is important to them. And they worry that maybe someone coming in as a Democrat may not understand or prioritize that. So all that to say is I think it's a larger shift too of being able to flip the switch of control and just change, district lines. Obviously here in California, we did have an election to approve this, but I think people are very concerned about their representation and what it means for the direct impact about the policies and the decision-making that's going to come down and impact their everyday life as well as their business.
Yeah. Hey, Samantha, any other questions?
No more from me.
All right. To the point indeed. Alex Bell, an anchor at ABC 10 in Sacramento and the host of To the Point. Alex, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking a little bit of time for us here on the East Coast. Is there anything else that you want to add before we let you go?
Nope. I think you guys did a great job covering. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. We really appreciate it. Again, that's ABC 10 out in California. Alex Bell, one of their anchors and the host of To The Point, giving us a little bit more of a sense of how things are as this controversy plays out in real time surrounding the California gubernatorial race, what is expected to now be an open seat in Congress, and of course the horrible accusations against Eric Swalwell and then his subsequent denial of those accusations. So we really appreciate Alex coming on and joining us today.